Play tryhard mode. I will do that in 2 games from now. So I'm gonna just show you some examples. Like the flatter you, actually, let me clear this out first. Okay, so like I can't even build extinction. It's hard for me to build messy because like I can't conceptualize like how people would build that way. So here, the only thing that works is a line piece, and here, the only thing that works without a hole is a line piece. It's a very uncommoning board, and now we have this spot which requires a line piece and this one. Like, this is why large height differentials suck, because it makes your board really unaccommodating, and then you have to make tougher decisions. Like, you have to go like, well, do I create a hole here, or do I create a hole there? Like, and what's like worse, right? So, that's like part of the reason why, like, when you have a nice flat board, like, you have variety. Like, we can use this piece. I should have used the blue piece, but now look at the height gap here. I have to use a line piece to fill this, or else I create a hole. And so you don't want to create large height differentials because it just simply makes your board less accommodating to pieces. So I don't know. So when your board's flat as this, I don't have to think at all. Like, this is just, unless I mess up like that, but when your board's flat, you just literally just drop pieces left and right, and there's not much slot. Like, you're trying to make a system as easy as possible for you to build as quickly. And to build quickly, you don't want to put as much thought into like where you need to put pieces, because the more you have to think, the slower you go. And the flatter you build, the less you have to think, which means you build faster. So just kind of pay attention to like the height differentials. Here it's a height differential of 3, which is kind of bad, so I need a square piece or like a special combination of pieces to unflatten the board. So the less you need like a special combination of pieces, the better that your board becomes in making quick automated responses. Like, that's like the best like way to learn how to play Tetris quickly, because you want your decision making to be like as fluid and easy as possible. So I could use this piece here, but it creates a height differential 2 on the sides. This is better because the height differential is a lot less apparent. Oh well, I'm just gonna do that just for fun. A T-spin single off of a very elaborate thing. So here, evening out the board looks pretty good. But look at how like little thought I have here. This is bad because it creates a height gap of 3, so I'm reliant on a line piece to get over. Like, I'd prefer not. I would use this piece, then I can use an orange piece too. It's also a probability game. Like, do we want the 1 in 7, or do we want like a higher probability of different pieces to be able to build? So that's like one example. And this is why T pieces are pretty useful. Like, there's a lot of situations where a T piece is just strictly way better than an S or a T. So, what's going on here? So, I don't know. Is this all resonant? So this board sucks for me because it's very uneven. So what we do in these kind of boards is we try to flatten things out as much as we can. And we try to make the height as even as possible. Now we have a good board state. And now I can go back to like the thinking, or like not thinking very much. So now I don't have to think, or like I don't have to make this like interesting decisions. It's all automated. And that's like the core. Of course there's exceptions to the rule, but like, and based on like the next pieces and stuff, like you may not necessarily build flat because the next piece is gonna like help out in a certain way, or the next sequence of pieces. But yeah, this is just like pretty much what I do. Just build in a way that your board continues to remain flat. Now you see a little bit of discrepancy in the middle, like if you look, but we're gonna re-flatten the board, and that's what you do. You just left your switch in the car. So this is what you keep doing. Everyone's taking notes. You have to give me that reassurance, because when chat dies, I'm just like, like, am I just that boring that like no one's talking anymore? But sometimes that means you guys are engaged. Alright, so we're seeing large height differentials, right? So what you want to do is just re-flatten the board so the height differential doesn't exceed certain things. And sometimes to like lower it, you can carve. So I use that L block to carve down just a bit. You're literally just nodding your head. What else? I'm gonna show you a big no-no. I always tell this on my stream. Red piece is terrible here. The reason why is because you're adding additional lines that you have to clear to reach the well. But if you see the T piece there, immediately got us out of the hole. But if you use the red piece there, then what ends up happening is you have to clear 2 additional lines before you reach your well. So like you have to think about like how do you clear wells without adding how do you clear lines without adding additional lines you have to clear to your well? Like, and that's like really subtle, like, and that's a skill that most people don't really learn until much later. So I use that line piece there so that I didn't need to clear an additional line to get to that well. So if you're wondering why I swapped out. My favorite Tetris block is probably, I mean, the line piece is a classic. I mean, I think it just is universally good, but like the T block is my jam. So this is where sometimes accompanying to a T spin's rough. I realized I didn't even build for it. So sometimes you might just have to make like abrupt decisions. Sometimes you have to like create a hole and you're just like, darn, like I didn't want to do that, but like you're forced into. So sometimes you have to make tough decisions, and the best thing you can do for yourself is make a decision as quick as possible. First off, it may not be the best decision, but you want to move on to like your next piece. But sometimes you're gonna have to create a hole, and it's just unfortunate, but like sometimes the board, the combination of pieces just don't allow for good things to happen. So we're gonna make a flat board before we carve down. Don't use the orange piece here. It's better to do this. Gonna use a T piece on this side. Now, here, you just need to make decisions. So we're gonna use that piece to carve. I can show in a replay like why that's the case. We're gonna add 1 line there. Make sure that it's this way so we can access our well. So the late game is, especially when you're getting a lot of garbage pieces, it's really important in figuring out like what's the quickest route to like get to your well. This is where having middle stack kind of sucked. We're actually going to sacrifice a line piece just to dig a little bit further. We have a pretty easy access to our next well. We're going to add that single line break. I prefer to do that. So, I don't know. Hopefully that provides a little bit of insight, like, into like what I'm, like, how to build flat.